All right, good afternoon. My name is Zack Poole with Paragon Films, and I am the state territory manager for Georgia. And my responsibilities also bleed over into the Carolinas, Florida, and Tennessee. Today, we're going to look at part of the Paragon's machine film lineup. If you haven't had an opportunity thus far to check out the other machine film webinars, I suggest that you do so. We'll have a schedule posted on the next slide for the times for each. But looking at the current Paragon machine film lineup, Global Force is our workhorse film. It's been around for over 10 years. It is great for customers that don't want to get off of spec'd in film, whether it's 63 gauge, 75, 90. It's also great for customers that are more price conscious, roll price conscious, and don't need the barcode scan product. They just need a good workhorse film that can fit A, B, and C type loads very effectively. In the top right, we have Cold Force, which is our high clean package film. It's great for wrapping product that is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have an ice cream customer, a frozen meat, or even sometimes frozen vegetable customer, it would be a great option for, especially if they're storing film in the same freezer that they're storing product. It's also exceptional at providing the clean package that you need, even in a dusty and dirty environment where the dust and the dirt may inhibit the cling and provide tails for the film. It's great for that. In the bottom right, we have Contrast, which is our high slip film. It is great for customers that are having issues with load-to-load contact, abrasion, product damage due to film sticking together and causing those issues. Nexus on the bottom left is our flagship stretch film, the high performance film that I hope all of you are familiar with. It's run from 40 gauge to 115 gauge. It is very stiff, which gives you better containment, compression. It has great puncture and tear resistance. It is a great flagship film for Paragon. So we've been offering these product education seminars. On Monday and Wednesday, we've been offering Titus, Nexus, UVI, Cold Force, Contrast, and then Torque will be here in an hour. On Tuesday and Thursday, we've been offering Edge, Spartan, Global Force, and Ultimate Force. So first thing we need to look at with Ultimate Force is it is classified as a very soft film. We talked earlier about Nexus being a very stiff film. So what are the characteristic differences between an Ultimate Force and a Nexus? So first of all, if you say that you're currently using Nexus and you've told your customer that it's a very stiff film, traditionally people think a stiff film is going to be very brittle, when in fact with Nexus it has very high compression and high containment and takes a lot of force through that pre-stretch gear or in those machines to get it to stretch compared to a soft film like Ultimate Force. Ultimate Force running through a 250% gear against a Nexus or a stiff film will actually get better elongation. It'll stretch farther at the same settings than a stiffer film. Both stiff and soft films in the Paragon lineup are made with metallocene-based resins, which is a process for giving stretch film its high elongation. But the weakness in metallocene is it can stretch and stretch and stretch until it just can't stretch anymore and you have film breaks. Polypropylene additive will work with that metallocene resin to allow it to stretch and stretch and stretch to a certain point, and the polypropylene will cause it to tensilize and get as stiff and as tight as it can without having it breakage. Overall compression, a stiff film is going to give you higher compression than a soft film with the same revolutions and wrap patterns. But a softer film, you have more availability to change. You can go with lower revolutions, higher tension, and still give less compression if needed, or ramp up the tension, the revolutions, and give a high compression as well. Both of these have great puncture and tear resistance, but they achieve them in different ways. So the stiff film like Nexus is great for puncture and tear because it is so stiff that it doesn't want to allow those punctures and tears to propagate through the film. Whereas Ultimate Force, being a soft film, is going to be great for puncture and tear resistance because it can continue to stretch and stretch and stretch to where it's not going to break or have those small holes. So why Ultimate Force? Ultimate Force is a quiet, clear cast film with high elongation. It's a one-sided cling product. It has easy unwind. We're able to optimize the film with the equipment on the product at lower gauges, and it gives one of the lowest cost per pallet wrapped in the industry. It also, because of its clarity, gives great barcode scanning. So why Ultimate Force? If you have a customer that needs a very soft film, it has the ability to have little compression. It's exceptionally soft, long stretch, lower containment. It can run on any piece of equipment, on any speed, any pre-stretch, and it actually prefers to operate it above 280% pre-stretch and post-stretch. If you have a customer that needs an application with no punctures or tears, Ultimate Force may be great because of that elongation. And if your customer is hand roping product, traditionally using a stiffer film can cause stress on that film to where it breaks because your worker is manipulating the film, pulling it to go over the product or hand roping it. That can stress the film, especially a stiffer film. Whereas Ultimate Force, being a softer film, can take that extra stress and tension because of the softness and the elongation to where you're not going to have any issues hand roping or manipulating the film during wrapping. So I've attached the spec sheet for Ultimate Force. Currently it's available from 39 gauge all the way to 102 gauge in both 20 and 30 inch. And we have full length footages. For example, our 39 gauge is run at 11,250 feet, giving you great sustainability for customers, less roll changes, higher throughput. You can get more done without having to adjust and change rolls. I've also attached the ASTM testing sheet. So this is our technical spec sheet. If you have an engineer or a buyer or a plant manager that's interested in seeing the performance data based on ASTM testing, I have this available. Reach out to me directly and I can get this over to you, and we can present it in front of the customer. So when would you want to use Ultimate Force over a Nexus or a Global Force? Ultimate Force is great for wrapping light loads that don't need to be crushed. For example, PET bottles. These are empty plastic bottles that may eventually hold soft drinks or water or even some sort of sports drink. When they're produced, traditionally they're still warm coming off the press, and when they wrap them, any extra stress or side load stress can cause them to cool down and harden in a oblong pattern. They will ovalize as opposed to retaining their cylindrical shape. So Ultimate Force, you can run at a 300% pre-stretch gear with zero tension on it, and you'll get the holding force for the pallet weight and the dimensions that you need without the crushing effects of a stiffer film like Nexus. Also, customers that may use thin-walled boxes fragile boxes or highly recycled boxes or imported boxes that don't stand up to a good, single wall, drop test. So you can wrap this product just like PET with very little tension at high RPM, high pre-stretch, and not crush those boxes. Anybody that has a secondary load stability that's unnecessary. For example, if you're wrapping a pallet of cinder blocks, most of the time a customer will strap those down but need a dust cover or some sort of protective layer on the outside of the pallet. Ultimate Force 102 gauge would be a great option because it's going to give you the ability to wrap around those abrasive edges and still retain its shape, acting more like a dust cover without the punctures and the tears. And any kind of difficult C loads. We currently are supplying this to a customer that makes bicycle frames, a lot of sharp edges on those pallets, and Ultimate Force holds them very well with no punctures or tears visible per the customer's specifications. So we currently are offering, we have samples available for Ultimate Force in each one of the gauges and the width, both 20 and 30 inch. If you have a customer that may be in need of a softer film, something like PET bottles or thin-walled boxes, or have a high pre-stretch or RPM machine, please reach out to me. I can get you samples. I can also discuss the ability for Ultimate Force to work and do a presentation for that customer, or reach out to your local sales reps. Once again, my name is Zack Poole, and I cover the state of Georgia. Thank you for your time today on this webinar.